Hello and welcome to Open Mic UK. Guys, we have a total, not total, but we have a mix-up thanks to the full moon, and I would 100% blame it on the full moon and the energies that are happening around us. We had a mix-up with our guest today, and so what we decided to do is have him join us tomorrow. So basically, we're going to have two open mics UK, one now for the next 15 minutes. If anybody has any question, you can pass it on to us. And tomorrow we'll have a call with Paul Bannister. I really do apologize. It was like a major mix-up in everything that we did. We advertised it for Wednesday, and I told him to be on Thursday. And so that's why we couldn't get him on the call. But we agreed, me and him, that he'll be on our show tomorrow at 7 p.m. UK time or 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So welcome to our show, my lovely guest, not guest, but co-host that we've been away for a couple of weeks. Cathy, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you for joining. And Suzi from Ireland.
Hello.
Cathy is from Vermont and Suzi from Ireland, and I'm from Montreal. So since the whole thing got changed, what would you like to talk about? We'll give ourselves for at least 15, 20 minutes if anybody wants to have, if anybody has any questions, or if anybody have any topics that he'd like or she'd like to talk about, please put it in the chat, and we'll pass it on. So how was your past 2 days with the energies of the moon? Cathy, you're shaking your head. Let's go to Vermont and see what's happening over there.
Well, we're also having sort of fall or beyond weather, and I guess it's all related. Terrible sleep. But this is one moon where I've been so busy, and I've also been sick. I don't know what's going on. Usually I talk to my astrology friends and I sort of, like get myself ready. Okay, it's coming, and here we are, and then see how it feels. But this time it kind of just waylaid my sleep. Things aren't working out. Things are having to be redone. Things are disappearing. Things are getting lost. It's not pleasant.
It's a change. It's a change. It's a chaotic change, but something is happening. You're right. Sleep patterns have been disrupted. Even our furry friends are having a bit of a what do you call that? Issue adapting to the changes that are happening in the energy world. And Suzi, how's it going in Ireland?
Well, like you guys, the weather is atrocious, and the energy just before the full moon, I really felt a surge of energy on Monday. I was like gunning for it, and I got loads of stuff done. It was like stuff that was kind of in a holding pattern for a long time, kind of unraveled, and I felt like I was up and running, but then that was swiftly followed by a couple of sleepless nights and that surge of energy from the moon. I really felt it. And I've battled with it for the entire day today, which is something that I'm kind of annoyed with myself for now, because I've been trying to sort stuff out on technology all day and like in 10 steps ahead. And then it's like the snakes and ladders, a big slide all the way back down, like losing stuff on my computer and so on. So yeah, it didn't surprise me when we just went to go live, and our special guest was thinking we were having it tomorrow. That's just how it's been. But I am excited about that we're working on this event for the UK in November, and I love the venue that we have, and we're starting to put together a schedule for that. And it feels like Glastonbury is calling us. The St. Michael and St. Mary ley lines are definitely calling us, and they're very relevant to the location that we're going. So people are being called, and making that connection to the land in the UK, and we are all going to be there. Yay!
Katie, hi, how are you? And we have other listeners on the line. Please do put in your questions if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make to us. Yes, technology has been haywire for sure, for sure, for sure. The energies are not helping at all. And as for the UK, for the ones that who do not know or wasn't aware of our trips that are coming up, the three of us were going to be in Yorkshire, England, which is north of London, far north of London, very far north of London, for heaven's sake, for the Science and Consciousness event that is starting on November 18. We're going to be there attending the Science and Consciousness, and after that, we're heading somewhere. Well, we can say where it's going to be. It's going to be in Devon, south of London, southwest of
West,
London,
yeah.
west of London. It's a bit, yeah, somewhere over there. I can't get it right because the country is not set up on the properly on the axis, so it's a bit tilted. And we have a great venue, and we will be sharing more information on that soon, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
So do either of you remember when we had the I'm going back to the moon because I kind of want to figure it out. Remember when we had the solar eclipse, and then we had several lunar events, and so late March, that part of the year, that changed me. And does the moon? Do either of you know? Does the moon do these kind of upgrades that I know we get from our stars?
From what I understand, with my limited knowledge in astrology, is that a new moon is where you start putting things into place, like you put the seeds out for it to sprout later on. So on the lunar start, the lunar eclipse is a new start. It's a new beginning. So it's everything starting fresh right after there. And this one is just a beginning. So you cleared up something in the past, and then you will plant the seeds for tomorrow. That's my understanding. I don't know if I'm correct or wrong. If anybody on the call want to correct me, please feel free.
Yeah, I think just for me, I don't study the astrology. I don't have that sort of capacity at all. I have different capacities, I think, but I just tune into it as I am, like just standing in front of it. And the last couple of days before, as it was getting full, whenever I was driving at night, wow, it just felt so different because I think the moon has been closer to the earth, this month more than other months.
Yeah.
And it really felt like, for me, when I was driving anyway, really in your face moon, it was like, listen, pay attention, it really grabbed a lot of people's attention. And then as the skies cleared and it went a bit higher in the sky here as over the course of the night, obviously, on the full moon and last night, I really noticed it. Even though it's called a super blue moon, I think the light did seem to feel like it was like a blue tone coming off it last night and the night before. And I started chatting with it. I just was like, okay, what's the story? What's going on? And I always invited to, because obviously it's bedtime for me. And I was like, work with me in my sleep state. So I think it's an exciting time to just make your own relationship with the moon without being told how to receive it. Just connect with it, and how does it inform you? How does it make you feel? It definitely played havoc with the technology today. There's no two ways about it. But yeah, I feel like there's something happening globally right now. Because so many shifts have taken place in the last couple of weeks or months even.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that magnetic force of the moon, I feel like it's just pulling us all on in there, whether so you can go in consciously or you can go kicking and screaming. That's the way I see it, you know. So communicate with it, stay conscious, stay present. Like that's how I would connect with it. What else would you do, Cathy?
Yeah, I think so. I've been writing my dreams because when I did sleep, which is, like closer to morning time, I've had dreams. Our moon, because I don't know, maybe Ramsey, you saw it too. The smoke from the fires was here
Mm.
until yesterday, and so our moon was bright red. The sun was red. So, that even added another layer of, um, intrigue, I guess, because I knew it was called the super blue moon. I always also think about the s the full moon is reflecting the sun down to us all night, which
Mm,
I think is interesting, and what's the message that comes with that, that now not only is it nighttime, but we're still, um, feeling the rays of our star. Yeah.
Uh, just a couple of notes from Kaylee. It's been super rough for me, the full moon in particular, but the full moon always affects me. Feels a lot of the time super exhausted. Oh God, yes, and body pain. I think we were all exhausted this time around. It was so strong that we couldn't even move. Yes, it was a super moon this month, also causes super high and super low tides.
mm.
Mhm, mhm.
So I
Definitely.
think that's a good indicator, isn't it?
Yeah,
The when you see what it's doing to the tides, we're 70% water. So no
yeah,
wonder we're feeling like, we're feeling kind of maybe going from overwhelmed to kind of underwhelmed,
yeah.
extremes in one way or another.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think the main thing with this is just to write it out like it's, like a wave. Just write out the wave, see what happens, get a good night's sleep and try and wake up feeling a bit more refreshed hopefully tomorrow.
Mhm.
Um, for events like this, when the moon is very strong, there's a period of energies that starts before the event and after the event. So sometimes it lingers for a week or so after the event. So we had the the full moon. It was on Monday. Yeah, yesterday, wasn't it? 2 days ago. Sorry.
Mhm.
So 2 days ago, and we might feel till the end of the week, early next week. So the effects is less and less over time, but from what I know, it lingers for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
So, well, we have also listeners on what is that? Instagram. Apologies.
Instagram.
Galit will say it's very strong for me too, this full moon, and I still feel it today. It's my birthday month, so I guess everybody's feeling it. And she's asking about the UK event will I be speaking. So what's happening in the UK is that there is the Science and Consciousness event that is happening from the 18th to be
22nd.
22nd. Yes, Friday, and then Friday evening, Saturday, and Sunday till Monday morning. We have a retreat in Devon in the UK. So
Yeah.
that's yeah. So these are the dates we're going to be in the UK. If you're in the UK and would like to meet us, we're going to be in Yorkshire and in Devon. And Cathy and I will spend a couple of days in London. So if you're anywhere in the vicinity, please hook us, call us, or just send us an email, and we'll be more than happy to have a tea with you guys.
Yeah. I'd love to talk a little bit about what it feels like when you get drawn towards an event or a location or, like maybe we could share a little bit for example, how both of you really were drawn to the Science and Consciousness conference, and and how one yes leads to another, and then it leads to another, and we start off on this kind of other UK trajectory.
Yeah. So you attended the Science and Consciousness last year, and then you were planning on doing it this year.
Mm.
I went back and I started to think about it. Okay, should I do it? Should I not? And then I got the okay to go and do it. And to show the deadline for the what do you call it? There was special price, early bird special,
Mm.
had passed by a week. And I went online after I got the okay messages from wherever they come. I went online and kaboom, I got the early bird special for the event. Then Cathy came in, and Cathy, I don't know, you want to talk about your event, how you ended up registering? What happened from your end?
Well, I sort of had it was kind of the same, because I knew Susie was there, and I actually got the recording version of that event last year, and follow a couple of the people that were presenters, and I love the exposure. I love hearing how other people open their minds and do this kind of work. I also have somehow caught a travel bug, and have remembered, after being at home for a really long time, since before COVID, I guess, how it's different when you're in person for any kind of event,
Mm.
theater, music, and learning anything. And so, yeah, I just felt like, let's go. If I can make it, I want to go. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're both sharing like that, I remember distinctly when we were working initially on Spirit Cafe, and it's just a nice, healthy sort of input of all three of us. It sort of calls us in, taps us on the shoulder. We show up, we do a couple of hours, and then we go off and do other stuff individually, independently again. But I remember one day coming into like one of our meetings, and I got such a clear message. It was for both of you. Remember, I said, travel, travel, travel. There's a lot of traveling. And I
Yeah.
haven't left home, which is very unusual for me. I usually would be the one doing the traveling. I am going away in September, but up to now I haven't done very much at all. And both of you have really just caught the bug, as you said, Cathy. Like, so I think spirit often comes in and gives us that tap on the shoulder, that nod, that like what happens for me is I get a glimpse or a word recurring over and over, and it won't go away unless I spit it out. And then I just had to throw it out amongst you. And I was like, oh, well. And it's not like exactly from that one word or one message or whatever what's going to happen. But I think it does help in terms of your ability to say yes to life, to say yes to, the event or the conference, which then, as we said, led to, and what else? What else? And for me, for a good while, the what else wasn't coming. Like, I thought, I would never force something to happen. So I was just getting nothing. I was drawing a blank initially for whether we were going to meet up after the conference. But then again, just like the travel thing came, I got this sort of, what I call a glimpse. The opening came, and it came and went so fast. And I kind of sensed the location, and I was like, nah. And again, I kind of let it go because we weren't in contact. But it's when the message is for you, it doesn't change. It's very subtle, and it keeps coming back. So I think that's something I've really learned from obviously collaborating with the two of you and working on Spirit Cafe. It's just the nature of how we get those messages and how we interpret it and how it influences our trust, I suppose, and our willingness to say yes to stuff. even though we don't really know what we're saying yes to half the time.
You pointed out something really great, which is the trust.
Mm.
And as humans, for some reason, we kind of like move away from that a lot, which I don't know why we do that. We have doubts on everything, but it's like, but once you start trusting, things would happen. It's like you and I were working on the event. Oh, this is like 3 weeks ago or something, and I go, oh, I see something with a straw. Uh,
Yeah,
like I described the place before knowing where we're gonna be, and then
you
you go,
did.
oh, it can't be. Does it look like this one? And you showed me the picture, and I go, my God, yeah, this is what I just saw. And we ended up, you ended up talking to the owners of the place, and we might be even having the event over there, which is like something awesome. But spirit works in a very funny way, and the only way you can really communicate with them is through trust.
Yeah, yeah,
Through trust. That's it. There's nothing else. Well, at least for me, is there's nothing else. If somebody has any other ways of doing it, please let us know. Or if you feel that you communicate in some other fashion, come on, put it in a comments, and we'll be happy to talk about it.
I think you're right about trust, because I decided I was going to go while I was in Spain,
yes,
and
yeah,
that was a huge leap for me, even to go. I had never been anywhere in Europe, and then I realized how sort of instantly safe and settled I was, because I was so curious about everything I saw, and that made it so that I could imagine going to Science and Consciousness. I also wanted to meet Susie, because I had just recently spent the day with Ramzi, and that was just phenomenal for me. And so for the three of us to be together, oh man.
Yes.
yeah. I'm happy just as far as that, like, and everything else after that then is a bonus for sure. But I just want to really share that with people, because it's the same for everybody the world over, whether you're aware of it or not. The information is there on a very subtle realm, in the subtle field, or
Mm.
the field of the subtle maybe. And it takes kind of the quiet kind of time to just kind of sit and see what wants to come in. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we keep ourselves so busy, and our mind is such a taskmaster. Like today, I was in the mind, it was tasking me to get this thing done on the website, to get this program done, to get the newsletter out. And these were all lists that were made by my mind and my thoughts, and I wasn't in the flow. And I clearly was hitting one, not after another. And, I was practically banging my head against the wall. Like, so I know that side of it. I've been there. So I just love the other way, being in that flow. I love, I love when we just have enough curiosity to let it, float in. And then we can kind of ride the wave and float out with it, and say, yeah, sure, let's see what happens. So, hopefully anyone who feels that kind of little tap on the shoulder to come to Glastonbury, come on a journey to Avalon with us. It's very mystical. It'll definitely be an adventure. So far anyway, it's been an adventure.
Mhm.
It has. I have another. Actually, I'm gonna put it on there. I don't know how it works. Awakened Soul 8 from Instagram said, "Trust, LOL, a reminder for me." We're not the only ones that face this thing. It's a common human trait, I guess, not to trust for some reason. And we end up going in circles, and then we're back to the same point and say, yeah, I should have done it from day one. Yeah, we all have the same thing. So as long as we keep on reminding ourselves with that point, it becomes easier and easier. And I'm sure tomorrow, while we're on a call with Paul, he'll share some of his insights on trusting and other things that he does to communicate with spirit. So again, we do apologize. Due to the full moon, I mixed up the dates, so he's coming tomorrow instead of today. So we'll reschedule this whole thing for tomorrow. And for the time being, we're just discussing trust, full moon, and spirit in general. And by the way, we have Spirit Cafe coming up. Who's going to take it from here?
Susie and I talked about our Spirit Cafe. That's a week from Saturday at noon Eastern Time, August 31st. And ever since Susie and Ramzi, 2 or 3 years ago now, did what they called blind vision with us in another group, I've been that was a really incredible proof to me that what I could see and feel and hear, and I'm putting myself in one of those situations, wasn't being made up by me, but I was tapping into wisdom about these women that we were studying from the past. So it's evidence. We knew their past. We knew what happened to them. What we saw and heard, we knew was real. And it was a game. It was playful. It was so fun. And so that's what we're going to do with our own ancestors on Spirit Cafe next time. And we're going to keep it light and hopefully gain more trust in this work.
And we've also, it's going to go out on the Spirit Cafe newsletter when I unglitch the program. But it's going out there that there's an invitation. Anybody who wants to join the next session, I think it's session 7, as far as I can remember. We invite you to submit a photograph of your loved one who's passed. And we're going to supply Cathy's email address, and you're going to supply a photograph and just their name, and maybe the relationship of that person to you. And we're going to do some practice. That's what I love about Spirit Cafe. We get to practice. It's just like my Mindful Mondays. We practice meditation, because it's just a practice. And the more we practice something, the more proficient we become. So ultimately, that's what we're going to do, Spirit Cafe on the 31st, like Cathy said. It's evidence-based. It's so we have factual information, because it's based on somebody that somebody loved and knew in the past. So they can verify or validate the information, but we'll all practice then. And the bonus there is that there's beautiful messages coming in from these dearly departed people, and it doesn't matter like how long ago they passed, or I would just trust that when somebody comes into your awareness and kind of inspires you to send their photograph in, they're trying to get your attention to say, look, I want to make this connection with you. And then everybody gets to become, either psychic or the medium, because I do believe that everybody has the capacity, but it just takes a bit more practice to get more proficient at it, I guess. Ramzi, do you remember when we did that before with photographs?
Oh, of course, I remember. The funny part is that with that one, there are a couple of we pulled some pictures out. There's some. I can't remember. I remember one of them where I think what's it called, Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first one. I think we did that, and I had to trust, because we were new at these things back then. It was like 2-3 years ago. We were just starting, and then I see a picture of Joan of Arc, and I go, "You have that picture," and the dress is red, and I know how the design is. I don't remember giving you the whole detail of it, and then what do you call it? And then after you pulled the picture, you had the picture. It was an identical dress with the
Mm.
gold inlays. I can't remember how it, but it was interesting. And even during our events, I think one of them where somebody's mom needed to come in and pass on a message, if you
Mm.
recall. And of course, messages were what do you call it? I was going to say sacred, but yeah, they're private and sacred. But because the space that we create is a sacred space, and everything stays within that space, so it was easy for messages to come from spirit to different people at different times.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that's basically the platform that we create.
And I had an example I was sharing with Cathy, which kind of inspired our when we were talking about what we might do for session 7. It's a kind of a reverse engineering of what we're doing on at the end of the month. But
Yeah.
basically, for me, when I get when the spirit comes in, it's really visual. I'm very visual, and it was almost like when I was describing this person's relative, I could see a photograph of the person in my mind's eye. So I described in detail what I was seeing in the picture, as if I was holding the picture. And the validation that came from the person that was sitting was profound for me, because she was emotional. She was really moved. It was really soothing and healing for her, because that member of her family had had a very tragic end, a very, like, she died quite young, and so it was a massive tragedy in the family. So I think she felt really comforted by the connection. And she said to me, when I get back to the UK, that photograph of that person is on my grandfather's mantelpiece. And she said, I'm going to send it to you. And about 4 months later, she sent me a picture. And I swear, I nearly collapsed, because it was like, oh my God, it's as if I'd seen the picture already. And that's one of the reasons I'm so interested in remote viewing, because I'm like, when you go beyond the boundaries of space and time, did the picture come before the image came to me? Like, when you blur those boundaries, um, it's like, is the horse before the cart, or the cart before the horse? I don't know, but it doesn't even matter, because it's like, what is the effect? What's the post? Like, what how does it make somebody feel? And it, like, if it's comforting and healing, well, that's worth it for me. That's worth making the effort.
Of course, we have a note over here. I've recently come to learn how visual my mom is with her intuitive skills, seeing spirit, etc. I'm intuitive myself, but not visual at all. Really interesting how it's different for each of us. Okay, based on my experience, and I'll pass the mic for everybody on the call, is that we all have a strong suit. Some are visual, some are auditory, some are feelings, and whatever it is. And we use all these senses to communicate. But with time, what I notice is that it changes. You
Mm.
communicate in a totally different way. And I was talking about that with a friend of mine 2 days ago. I go, whenever I start blabbing like at 100 miles an hour and I'm giving a message to someone, it's never mine. And I never thought that that would be called channeling per se. But now I do that on a regular basis. It's not like I do it, it happens. Like we're discussing something and all of a sudden, and I know it's not mine. It just passes through. And I still have visual side of things, and I also see feel. Like we're on a calls and stuff like that, and somebody says something, and I go, "Oh my God, just spirit just touched me. This is the right thing we're
Mm.
talking about, so let's do it." And sometimes it happens on through those mediums that we use, like Zoom and stuff like that. Like I get a thumbs up on Zoom sometimes when I'm talking, if I'm saying something and it just says, yeah, you're right, you know. So it comes in different ways, but it doesn't mean that you're stuck in one way, you know. It's just
Yeah.
it's an evolution of things.
Which I think is why we like to practice in the different modes, so that you're exposed to it. It's like, you know, at your desk, you've got a pen and a pencil and an eraser and a pair of scissors and a glass of water. All these things then start to become available for when, yeah, all of a sudden you're writing down your dream, and then your hand takes over and you're writing a message from somewhere else. It can be so fun to, first of all, I think, discover where we are the strongest,
Mhm.
and then watch as other modes step in, feeling temperatures. That started happening to me, and I'm not talking about hot flashes. I'm talking about you know, temperature changes, or having scents come.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, you know, I'm smelling something that makes me ultra aware, and nobody else smells it, and then I realize, well, that's because I'm getting this message. Yeah, just paying attention and then playing with the other ones so that they get awakened also. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really cool because you might start off, like you said, you know, and it's a feeling. It's just a feeling, like Ramsey said, he can feel when he's been touched by spirit. Like the whole field of energy around him changes, and it's a visceral feeling, and you know, against his skin probably, and but then there's also the emotions. Like you suddenly start to feel the emotions of somebody, and you know they're not your own. Or also sometimes you can feel like a physical sensation in your body where it might relate to how the person died. Or, you know, I remember with that particular reading, that girl, it was a knock to the head. And oh my God, not that I felt the pain of somebody banging my head, but you feel a kind of a dull kind of a energy around your head, or, you know, that's how I experienced it. And, but like Cathy says, I think it's really good to, you know, you start with the strongest sense, but then you back that information up with like, well, how do I feel? What does it, you know, maybe taste like, or, you know, smell like, or, you know, and you know, what does it feel like? What does it look like visually? You know, and sometimes the visual representations are just almost like metaphoric, I think, too. You have to really kind of get to know your own subconscious mind to kind of understand the nature of how the information is coming to you. But I see the question here is, do you think intuition is a genetic trait? I think intuition is everybody's birthright. It's a state of consciousness as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, we can awaken it and we can develop it. And so if you're just living in a sort of waking, dreaming, you know, sleeping state, which most people are, you might discard any sort of intuitive hits that you're getting at all, because your rational mind would be dominant and it would just be like, no, that's not logical, you know, and that's fine. You know, that's how your operating system has been kind of set up or conditioned. But when you start to kind of explore different states, which brings in a bit more alpha stage, if you were looking at it from that side of things, you can really explore that imaginal realm and you can develop it a bit more, and then start to, you know, maybe develop a meditation practice or some practice of inquiry, whether it's the, you know, the soul writing that Cathy does, or the journaling, or the painting, or, you know, I think Ramsey just sits and just allows the space to receive the information. We all have a totally different approach to get to the same thing ultimately. So short answer is, I don't know about it being genetic. I just think it's a human trait. It's everybody's birthright. It's my feeling anyway.
Just say hello to Hypnicity. Thank you for joining. And thanks for everybody who's on listening to the show right now. Now, regarding this question, is it genetic or not? Genetic is kind of like very broad thing, but what I would think it is, it's we all have it. Okay, it's a sense. Intuition is a sense. It's just like sight, hearing, and so on. We tend to forget about it because of a lack of trust in what we do and how we receive information. So intuition dies with time with us because we lose trust in it, because we are taught in schools to be to follow the evidence. Okay, if you're a scientist and if you're an accountant like me, it's everything has to be within the box. If it's not in the box, then you just discard the information because the information is not relative. So if you're coming from that point of view, and then you develop at a later stage, because then all these boxes starts to fall. So you might think some people have it, some people not. But I think we all have it from the beginning, and then our upbringing kind of change our views on what it is, how it's used, and if we are. I was going to say like something, no, but if we're allowed to use it, or if we have the not opportunities. Now
Permission?
that's pardon.
Permission? Is that what you're going to say?
Permission. Yeah. We have the permission to use it, because sometimes we stop ourselves from a younger age, then we don't feel we have the right to it, so we drop it altogether, or whatever conditioning that we go through makes us drop these things. At least that's how I feel.
Which is why, as a parent, I try and nurture that in my son, that if he gets an intuition, then to listen, because he used to a lot when he was young. You know, and then that went away because now it's college time and the intellect is very important, and that's where you get your sense of self. Hopefully that'll come back, right? As parents, we can nurture that in our kids. As friends, we can nurture that for the people that we know or that are in that space where they're trying to trust. Like, you know, Susie, your kids probably are nurtured in their being receptive to their messages.
Absolutely. You know, speaking of, you know, I highly encourage them to look within themselves for the answers that they were, you know, seeking outside of themselves. I was just like, okay, you got to stop, you know, pause, take a breath. What's the question? You know, what's the inquiry? And then, you know, what are, like, different kids have different kind of ways of approaching things. You know, some are more like Ramzi, they're, you know, academic, sort of accountant, you know, very numbers people, you know. Other people are more like Cathy, very artistic, very creative, you know. So, you know, the mind works differently in both types of people, but it still gives you the same answer anyway. It just comes in a different format. And so with my kids, I would approach it according to them, one being very creative. So I worked with her from her creativity standpoint and helped her kind of, you know, she would write a lot of songs. She was very touchy-feely. And then the other one being more kind of, you know, a little more rational, just wanted kind of, I just want an answer. So for him, I would just get him to write down possible answers. Okay, what's the first thing? What's your heart's desire? What's the logical thing? What's the thing that society tells you that should be the answer? You know, go through like all the different types of answers that there are, but then blind test them, like you said, fold them up, and just feel the resonance on that piece of paper without actually looking at the answer, and see what information comes. And, you know, my kids made a lot of decisions based on that. And they would come back, you know, at different intervals of their lives during times when they're about to make new choices to go to different countries or take different jobs or whatever. And, you know, I just kept it really simple. I applied it according to how they were. So even if, you know, when you do this work, when you do this personal development and you develop your gift, you get to help everybody, like, you know, from all walks of life, young and old. You know, it doesn't matter kind of how they don't even have to be into it. You know what I mean? Because you'll still, the information is just the information and it's sitting there. That's what I've learned anyway.
So Hello to Hypnicity from Washington State. So we have two Americans on the call. One from Vermont, one from Washington. I believe we answered the question, this one. Is it encouraged versus smothered? So yeah, of course, it is nurtured or not. And it's always when you have an artistic person within the household, this thing flourishes because artists are free flow, while accountants are like so boxed in. I'm still having a hard time unboxing myself. Go ahead, Susie. You were going to say something.
I'm just looking at Hypnicity's question there about her third eye experience, or
Yeah.
their third eye experience, I'm not sure, which has made it difficult to go out in public. And I know that they're wondering if we have any kind of insight from her guides around that. I'm going to give you the opportunity there to tune in, Ramsey, because you might get something, you may or you may not. I was reading the question, feeling into it, and I'm just connecting with like maybe just why what is the difficulty, I guess, is what I'm asking. What is the difficulty that you're experiencing, and is it actually a difficulty at all? It might be perceived as a difficulty, but it's just, like we said today with the technology, the start of today, we all had to figure out how to ride the wave when it wasn't going the way we wanted. So any other insights there, Cathy or Ramsey?
I got the same thing. I actually got a dragonflower, which means it's resilient and adapt to change. Basically, what you said, Susie, same thing in a different way, is that when a third eye opens up, you are more empath. You feel people outside, the energies that are around you, and so on and so forth. So at the beginning, you're not sure how to deal with all the information coming in all at once. Basically, you're drinking from a big hose, a fire hose. Adapting to it and understanding how to allow information to come to you with time, that will help you basically close in and disallow that barrage of information coming in. You can control it. If you've been on calls with the Tanis and I on the open mic in the evening on Friday, is that there's she uses what do you call it, a bubble to close yourself in it and just basically have a control of what things that are flow in. Yes, this is exactly what it is. I pick up on people's energy. So would you stop picking up on people's energy? The answer would be no. It's what would happen is the intensity that these energies are coming in will change. And with that, slowly, like for example, one time I was in London at a store, and this lady was it's not a store, it's actually a crystal store, and they have a psychic in there, and she was distraught. Like the energy that it's coming out of her is like 1,000 knives coming towards me. And I couldn't. Usually, I don't talk to people about these things, but I had to talk to her because I couldn't control feeling her sorrow or pain. I couldn't control it. It was just like affecting me. So I went there and I said, I spoke to her and I told her everything's going to be okay, and I walked out because I couldn't stay in the store afterwards. But when she came out of the store, her energy had completely changed. And because the message that I gave her is what she needed at that point in time. And she wanted to pay me. And I go, no. I'm good. You can continue with the psychic that is at the store. You made an appointment. Good for you. I don't need anything. This is what I felt. This is what I gave you the message. And she was very, very appreciative of that. So you play with certain things. You kind of control the information that is coming in, but sometimes it is so strong that you cannot control it. That's fine. You just pick it up and drop it because it's really not yours. Here, let me see what we big swimmers are. I'm also 64. I've dealt with anxious depression, and I'm wondering if I'm on the spectrum too. That I don't know. That we're not medical doctors to diagnose this, but from an energy perspective, I think you would need to start working on sheltering yourself from it, and there are tons of ways to do that. Tubing, that's what it is. Thank you. Yes, the tubing, very useful. Tanis also talks about picturing a TV audio dial and tuning up and down. Asking guides to help quiet things probably wouldn't hurt either. Yes, it's also love your thoughts. Thank you. It's also visualizing that dial thingy, an audio dial, and just tuning it slowly down, slowly, and then you get the hang of it. At the beginning we use tools in order to control it, and afterwards it just happens naturally. It's like the first time you walk, you need to hold on to everything around you, and you fall a couple of times, and afterwards you're running and doing a marathon, and you don't even think about it.
My suggestion would be to get into the habit of grounding yourself, because if you do feel like you're kind of getting railroaded by the energy of other people around you, trusting that everybody's on their own journey anyway. For a start, it's not all your business. Stay in your own business, I always say, and ground yourself. Really ground your own energy and connect back to yourself. What am I feeling now? How do I feel? What do I need? And so that helps to contain you a little bit, for sure. And then sometimes I've been in situations similar to Ramzi, whereby I'm getting the tap on the shoulder to pass on a message to somebody. Now, this can often make me feel a little uncomfortable, especially when I don't really know who the people are, or and I don't want to infringe on their privacy either. But I get very creative, and that's why I like the creativity of it and playful with it. So, I'll be communicating with a guide thinking, okay, how am I supposed to do this? Inspire me, what's going to happen here? And I might ask the person a question or something, I just open the space between us and just feel how it lands between us. I wouldn't go all in, all over somebody, trying to freak them out or anything. I would never do that. I would do it very, very mindfully, very compassionately, very kind of gingerly, if you want, in that situation. But then getting a little creative with it. I don't start telling them that I have a guide telling me something in the back of my head. I generally don't do that. But I will sometimes step out of the situation too. And I'll really tune in and I'll ask, do you want me to do something here? How can I help, or how can I serve? And if I can do something, of course I'll do it. And then sometimes, it's just none of my business, and I just go about my day and stay grounded. So learn about the basics, like the tubing suggestion is a great one, and the grounding yourself, and stay out of other people's business unless you really are being asked to get involved. Maybe, I don't know what you might say, Cathy. You might have a different experience, but
no, I totally agree. For me, when I step into resistance, that's when I have the most trouble. When I remember, yep, I'm safe, I'm getting this information, and then I kind of treat it like a responsible friend, putting good boundaries. Maybe I'm just too tired that day to be out and listening. So I just say, "Yep, I'm closed today." Like you say, Susie, you taught me that.
yeah.
Yep, we're not doing that work today. I'd rather not. And I never say I'm done with it, because I did that with my dreams, and I couldn't remember a dream for years. It was like I just shut that door, and it was over. I opened it back up, luckily. But yeah, I think it's being responsible, and kind of like just being in the flow, and
Mhm.
feeling in my body and comfortable and safe, and listening if I want and not if I don't. Yeah.
These are good tips, and I think we're coming to the hour. We still have 5 minutes to go. If anybody has any other questions, please. We weren't planning actually on having a show today, but it's awesome when things happen this way. Thanks to the full moon, with the energies upside down, we invited Paul to come on the show tomorrow, and we scheduled it for today because I knew he was busy on Thursday, so I scheduled it Wednesday. And I called him and I said, "Hey, it's on Thursday. Here's the link." And then, and then I go, "Where is he? It's time to start." But anyways, we're good. We're good. We're having a blast, aren't we?
And I've been I have been guided to say, if for maybe somebody who's listening or will listen later, for our Spirit Cafe coming up on August 31st, if you're thinking about a difficult dead, when we get these messages, they're never frightening, they're never negative. It's always about healing, reassurance, and love. So it's okay. It's okay if you have a grandfather, somebody who you didn't finish business with. You can bring them too, because you might you might be surprised at what wisdom they have to share. And those are always gifts. We watch it happen all the time. Forgiveness, reassurance. It's a lovely thing that happens when we hear from our dead.
I think that's a really important point, Cathy, because sometimes, circumstances are kind of beyond people's control, or maybe even when they're in people's control, the ability to do what we might consider the right thing or a better option, or, to do things differently. Well, look, it was what it was. It is what it is. And, the opportunity to bring forgiveness into a space like that is quite profound. And it's not just healing for the one that's passed or you, it's the whole line. Like it's almost like a sort of a cleansing and repairing of the ancestral lines. So I do believe that something I learned very early on in my own journey was that, you know what, everybody alive and dead are doing the best they can with what they have from the level of consciousness that they're at. And, who would I be to throw the first stone? Like, listen, I'm messing up on a daily basis, and I'm trying, like I try over here, but I don't always get it right. And if I died tomorrow, my God, I'm sure I would have probably wished I'd said stuff to people, or, sent that email or the text. I haven't, there's plenty I haven't resolved in my life. So if I did die tomorrow, I'm not putting that out there, by the way.
We have a show tomorrow.
Because we have a show. But just, if you see, just like put it on yourself, like when you're dead or you're dead and they come back to make this connection, they're trying to just repair the bridges or build bridges, at least even, towards healing, towards forgiveness, like Cathy said. And if you're being nominated to be the person to bring them forward, well, listen, the best thing you can ever do in your life is to say yes to this. Feel the resistance. We all felt it. And say yes anyway.
Okay, guys, we're coming to an hour. So to wrap up the show, please join us tomorrow at the same time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. UK time with Paul Bannister. Again, we do apologize for the mix-up in the dates, but he is coming tomorrow. And even if I have to go to UK and drag him myself onto the show. Also,
Paul Bannister is from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK. He's a psychic medium. He's a very gifted guy. So, don't miss it. Do try and come back, or else listen to the recording is what I would say. I'm looking forward to meeting him.
I'm
Whatever way you get him here, Ramzi.
I hope I do hope you can all join in live, because it's an interesting to be live with them. And if not, you can always listen to it record. You can always listen to the recording on YouTube. With that, Cathy, Susie, and I, we bid you farewell. Thank you very much for being with us. For the ones in Europe, good evening, and the ones in North America, happy afternoon. And we'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard, 7 p.m. UK time. Thanks a lot, and see you tomorrow.